Hello, and welcome to this presentation on my field study of a visit to Bóinne, County Meath for junior cycle history students. The rationale for choosing this topic is as follows: to give students a real-world experience of concepts studied in relation to the Neolithic period, in particular the tombs. Secondly, to refer to material already covered to date, such as specific features of Neolithic life, as well as the various tombs, and how these tombs might have been constructed. Thirdly, to encourage students to recognise these features in the field and to appreciate their significance. And finally, to reinforce key skills by ensuring students are actively engaged at all times. The learning intentions of this particular field study are as follows. By the end of this activity, students will be able to appreciate and understand elements of Neolithic life, particularly the way of life and burial customs of the people. They will be able to identify and explain the significance of the main features of the various tombs. And finally, they will be able to discuss the significance of the Bóinne complex to the Neolithic people. While I would expect that during this field study, most of the key skills prevalent in the junior cycle will be covered, I would expect that we will in particular touch on managing information and thinking, where the students will be required to find data and understand it. Secondly, they will be paired, so their requirement to work with another person, to debate, to agree, to disagree, will be enhanced. Thirdly, they will be required to communicate with their colleagues and with each other, so this is another key skill which will be covered. And finally, they will be physically active, they will be engaged in their activity, and this should contribute to their ability to stay well. In order to successfully complete this field study, the students will need some things. First of all, a camera or a good smartphone. Secondly, they will need pencils and pens. Thirdly, a notepad. Fourthly, comfortable walking shoes. Then some warm clothing, possibly waterproof. And finally, I will supply them with a worksheet that they will use throughout the activity. Bóinne means Palace of the Bóinne. It is a site comprising of a series of Neolithic monuments, the centrepiece of which is Newgrange, a Neolithic passage tomb. Before beginning the field study, the students will be broken up into pairs. The field study itself will comprise two parts. Firstly, the students will be required to go to the visitor centre at Bóinne, where they will be required to investigate, to seek facts and information on both artefacts and the tombs at Bóinne. Secondly, the students will then visit the Newgrange site, where they will be required to investigate specific elements of the passage tomb and to complete the activities on the worksheet. The visitor centre at Bóinne will supply the students with a significant amount of information, but they will have to go and find it. Information on various tombs can be found there, also artifacts can be viewed, and the students will be required to work in detail to find this information. While much of the emphasis at Bóinne is on the passage tomb at Newgrange, there are also other tomb types to be found in the area, and this information is available to the students in the visitor centre. The visitor centre at Bóinne also offers students insights into the way of life of the Neolithic people. In particular, artefacts can be viewed, and the students, as mentioned, will be required to seek out this information and collate it. In particular, it is expected that students' investigations will yield information on houses of the Neolithic period, as well as crafts, tools, and also art. When the students reach the passage tomb at Newgrange, they will be required to find and note information on many of the key features, for example, standing stones, corbelled roof, spiral art, passages and burial chambers. To facilitate differentiation, students will be asked to draw or sketch a number of these key features. This will support those students who perhaps are more visual learners. Some of the terminology associated with the study of the Neolithic period, and Newgrange in particular, can be technical or complex, so allowing students to see it firsthand and create their own depictions of them should make these concepts more real for the students. The highlight of any visit to Newgrange must be the demonstration of the winter solstice, when the sunlight shines through the roof box and lights up the burial chamber, recreating the Neolithic ritual at the winter solstice. The students will view this recreation, thus bringing this extraordinary event to life. At the end of the field study, it will obviously be necessary to assess the learning of the students. At the end of the day, worksheets will be evaluated, not by myself, but by the students themselves in the form of peer assessment, where they will swap worksheets and give each other feedback. Secondly, as mentioned on the worksheet, each pair will be required to give a 2-minute presentation to the class on their personal highlight of the visit. And finally, with Christmas tests coming up, the students will also be assessed, albeit in a summative way, on their learning after their field study. Before revisiting the learning intentions, let's just take a look at the cross-curricular linkages which have been established during this field study. First of all, geography. The students will be looking at maps. They will have a map as part of their worksheet, and also they will be becoming familiar with why Neolithic people located some of their settlements near rivers. Secondly, numeracy will be enhanced through dates and dimensions of the monuments. And finally, CSPE, where the students will be gaining an understanding of different cultural rituals. So this field study is now at an end. The students have an increased appreciation and understanding of elements of the Neolithic life, in particular the way of life and the burial customs of the peoples. They are now able to identify and explain the significance of the main features of the various tombs, in particular I think the passage tombs. And finally, they are able to discuss the significance of the Bóinne complex to the Neolithic people. I would like to thank you for your attention during this presentation. Thank you very much.